Joe Rogan has endorsed Donald Trump. The podcasting giant interviewed Elon Musk on his show, saying that Musk makes the most compelling argument for Trump he's ever heard. Rogan wrote on X, quote, "The great and powerful Elon Musk, if it wasn't for him, we'd be effed. He makes what I think is the most compelling case for Trump you'll ever hear, and I agree with him every step of the way. For the record, yes, that's an endorsement of Trump. Enjoy the podcast." Let's watch.
Thank you so much for buying Twitter.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do. I really think you made a fork in the road. We were headed down a path of censorship and of control of narratives that is unprecedented. Forget about what they were able to do back when they had newspapers and the media under control. What they were doing with social media by suppressing information, and when you had a combined government effort, like what they were doing with the laptop story, where you have 51 former intelligence agents saying that this is Russian disinformation, take it offline, and Twitter complied. If you didn't buy that, we wouldn't have known that. We had no idea.
Exactly.
And I think what this goes to show you is how clumsy and counterproductive the efforts to censor information on social media made by the government were, and that they have inspired this massive backlash among alternative media figures who formerly were independent-minded people of the left. Joe Rogan is someone who had Bernie Sanders on his show several years ago, who I can't remember if he explicitly endorsed Bernie Sanders, but he was clearly most favorable toward Bernie Sanders. He said a lot of nice things about him. That was his ethos, was a Bernie Sanders left ethos. And he's not the only one. There are a lot of people, commentators, podcasters who are in that space who have drifted to the right for a variety of reasons. A big one of them is the censorship on social media. Another was COVID and feeling gaslit by experts and sources of authority and information, democratic sources, and that has pushed them to the right to the point where he is now praising Elon Musk and endorsing Donald Trump.
I mean, I never bought that he was ever a progressive. I think he was getting involved in that primary because he had an agenda. You know, I think a lot of folks on the right wanted to see Hillary Clinton go up against Donald Trump because, frankly, Bernie Sanders could have beaten Donald Trump, and we were on that campaign, and we felt that way too. And I think
felt that way too.
We were watching really closely. He was saying anti-trans things at the time. He was saying a lot of things that were culturally very conservative and did not line up to the point where we understood, okay, yes, it's important for Bernie Sanders to go on all sorts of media. He went on Fox News, notably. He did that big event at that Christian university in the South. Was it Liberty University? I forgot which one. And, so that was his strategy, but that doesn't mean they endorsed him. It's clear the whole time he's been a Donald Trump fan. What I find interesting is he waited until the last minute, and usually when that happens, when somebody endorses in the last minute, it's a little trick in politics. It's a way of saying, like, yeah, I support you, but, like, I really don't want to be tethered to this. And
I don't think he was always a Trump supporter by any stretch of the imagination. He consistently declined to have Trump on his show. He said, last time around, I think in 2020, he said, I will not have Trump on my show because I don't want to be seen in any way, shape, or form as supporting or contributing or helping his campaign. I actually criticized that because I said, well, you can have him on without being a supporter. You could have him on and ask him a tough question. So I remember talking about that on this show, and it was not clear. Now, he has been pushed in that direction or persuaded that Trump's policies are the kind of policies he stands for as someone who is, you're right, culturally more... It's certainly not progressive or independent of progressivism, but who is someone who has a huge audience that is young, working class, also younger, right-leaning,
male.
Independent, very male,
Very
sure,
male.
Independent perspective people, and it is just a massive audience. I mostly see Joe Rogan clips from when they make it onto social media. I don't sit down and listen to the whole episode very often, but I know people who do. I know people who don't listen to politics, family members, friends, back home in Michigan who are not so plugged into politics or not, they're not reading Nate Silver's Substack every day the way I am, but they do listen to Joe Rogan. And that's the main source of information.
I actually think he has more listeners than Twitter and X have viewers because, even when I'm reading that book on Elon Musk right now and his purchase of of Twitter at the time. It's called Character Limit. Definitely recommend it. And he went in saying he was going to get rid of the bots, figure out what the actual number of Twitter users was. He said he was going to make the algorithm transparent, which he hasn't done. And he said he made all these promises and he hasn't followed through. And as a result, X usership is drastically down. It's been devalued as of last month, 80%. When Goldman Sachs wrote this entire report, they thought that they were going to be making hundreds of millions of dollars within a year. So I love that Joe Rogan's praising his purchase of Twitter and saving Twitter, but it's barely worth anything now.
Elon has said he's willing to lose money in order to defend his principles, in order to defend free speech. He made it a free speech site.
For him.
He changed the moderation policies so that you can say things that are wrong or hateful or whatever, and you get fact-checked by them in the community notes feature. I think it's great. And maybe that's not profitable. Maybe advertisers don't like when you just let people say whatever they want, and so it reduces the revenue for the site. Now, I think they've also been up against utterly bad faith, wrong attacks by third-party, the hate-watching groups like the Anti-Defamation League, for instance, trying to say that, there's all this hate on the platform, and if you're a advertiser, you should stop working with X, so that has hurt them, and they're trying to convert to a subscription model, and maybe in the long run that'll work out, or maybe it won't, but I don't think Elon Musk cares. He did this on principle. He thinks it should be a free speech site, and that the moderation before was bad, and I agree that the moderation before was bad. Everybody now agrees that the moderation before was bad, because they did things the government wanted that were wrong.
But
they took down people being told they were bots that weren't bots, and because the government said so.
So since 2016, Twitter has been the #1 app in pretty much every region of the world where it existed, and it is by far not anymore. It's losing, across the board.
It's never been bigger than Facebook.
It says, I'm looking at, there's a social media today.
I don't know. Yeah. There's been no point in time in which Twitter had more users than Facebook. Facebook has like 1 billion users.
No, I understand. I agree, but #1 app, so downloaded app, whatever it is. So it doesn't mean, I don't know, this is even Elon Musk saying this. Has repeatedly
the revenue from Twitter
that X has been the #1 news app in several regions. Okay, so I agree with you. It seems strange, but that's what he states, and that's what this report states for some reason. So I don't know what the metrics are that they're using this. But with that being said, it isn't about free speech. Free speech is like a brand for him. It's like #free speech for me, but not for everybody else.
How's it not for everybody else? Everybody can post now.
Including bots and bot networks, and you can promote your stuff and get to the top of the algorithm if you buy followers, if you're boosted by Russia, whether you know it or not. Tim Pool didn't even know, even though he was receiving $100,000 a week, that he was being boosted.
Well, that was not to boost his content. That was to pay. They paid him.
Yes, but there's also boosting involved in that, and because he's not being transparent with the algorithm.
Well, we can all pay for boosting. You can pay for a check mark now, and you get a boost. Or you can pay for a premium subscription, you get a boost. Before it was just bestowed on people at random. Now you can pay for it and you get a boost, yeah.
No, you don't get it. If you want to pay for retweets, if you're an asset to a foreign adversary and they buy bot networks, you've probably never been on the receiving end of these bots. It's comic lot. Last week I had to deal with it, and it was like person with 5 followers.
Conspiratorial.
It is not conspiratorial. There's research institutes. It's conspiratorial that you're blinding yourself from this, and that he doesn't want to address it. Last week there was a video. I'm sure you saw the video when we covered it on the show of somebody taking ballots and throwing them in the garbage in Pennsylvania, okay? That video got hundreds of millions of views, and they finally put a correction below, and the community notes says what it is. There were only a small set of views of those community notes. And it turns out that video was Russian propaganda. So yeah, I think something like that should be taken down. We have editorial rooms for a reason. Are they perfect? No. I constantly have criticisms of the mainstream media. But to just throw everything out and do whatever Elon Musk says, he's the ultimate arbiter of free speech.
It's not an editorial. It's not doing editorial behavior. It is letting anyone post anything, and you can decide for yourself what you think is right and what is not, and you can dispute that it's a social media platform. It's not saying it's lifted its thumb off the scale. Say anyone can say whatever they want, with some very minimal guardrails for like actual criminal activity, and that's what many users want. If you don't want that, then you can go somewhere else. But that's the way Twitter is.
But the algorithm isn't transparent. So if the algorithm were transparent, then that would be fine, right? Free speech absolutism needs to have a system that is also fair. You can't put free speech absolutism on a system that is weighted towards one perspective, which just happens to be Elon Musk's perspective.
Yeah, I have some skepticism that it's weighted in that perspective. I think it's just become He is conservative. A lot of liberals were chased off the site because they didn't like the change in management. So now it's a more right-wing user base. And so the algorithm is recommending content to the people that they want to engage with. It's not, you're making it sound nefarious, but like I see more advertisements for like, men's sweaters than I do like bras or something on Facebook because the algorithm knows what kind of products I'm going to buy, and it's not a nefarious process. Similarly, people are being served content that they want to engage with. That's just the way social media works. It's not malicious. It's not tricking everything. This
isn't a theory anymore. There have been so many different reports on this, whether it's from the government that you don't trust or from research institutes. But let's just say this. He promised to make the algorithm transparent, and he hasn't. So...
Well, we've got a lot more to get to today on Rising, and much later today when we'll be checking in on the election results or lack thereof later tonight. Stick with us.